Good morning, members of the Regional Council. This meeting is now called to order. For those around the table, please turn on your microphone when speaking. For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. If you would like to comment at today's meeting, please complete the request to speak form. MAG staff can assist you with any questions you may have. If you parked in the garage, parking validators are available on the information table in the hallway. If you purchased a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available from MAG staff. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of members.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the Council, I will go down the list of members alphabetically. Unmute and indicate if you are present. Mayor Beck. Mayor Bien Wilner.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Crane.
Here.
Thank you. Ms. Daniels.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Dickey.
Here.
Thank you. Chair Gallego.
Here.
Thank you. Supervisor Galvin. Mayor Giles.
Here.
Thank you. Supervisor Goodman. Mayor Hall.
I'm here.
Thank you. Mayor Hartke.
Present.
Thank you. President Javier. Mayor Hermosillo.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor LaVault.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Governor Roe Lewis. Mr. Meck. Mayor Molina. Mayor Morris.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Osborne.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Ortega.
Present.
Thank you. President Patia.
Present.
Thank you. Mayor Pereira. Mayor Peterson. Thank you. Mayor Pizzillo.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Rodriguez. Mayor Schoaf.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Sykes.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Smith. Mayor Walter. Mayor Wires. Mayor Weiss. Mayor Wheatley.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Wilson.
Here.
Thank you. Mayor Woods. I have two. I just want to check on Mayor Pereira.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I couldn't find the mute button. Thank you.
Thank you. And is there anyone else that I missed?
Mayor Molina.
Thank you, Mayor Molina. And Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you all for joining us. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Our next item is call to the audience. This is the opportunity for the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda, informational items, or items on the agenda for discussion and not for action. 15 minutes will be provided to the call to the audience. We have Dee Dee Barker here to speak.
I guess that's on. Thank you, Chairwoman Kate, Mayor Kate. I love that we're able to talk right direct to our Kate Gallegos and the rest of the mayors of the Valley. I'm Diane Barker, and presently, after living in 7 different cities, I live in Phoenix, but you know, I'm wearing black. Now, who don't you remember who said that I'll be there wearing black until the world gets better? There you go, Johnny Cash, you know, and good old country music. But, you know, when I looked in my closet, I thought, you know, maybe I better wear this today because of what is going on. And I got reaffirmed by being over the Board of Supervisors this day. and the fact that it's winter and I'm not going to have too much more time to wear this because it will be hot. But, I just thought I don't write what I'm saying. So sometimes I, get the minutes back, and Meg does a good job on those. And so I kind of see what I did say. Unless, it's a consent agenda and I do read because I'm not here to waste any of our time. I'm here, I've told some of you, like, I'd rather be dancing, but I was brought up to participate with government. And then I was thinking today, I'm surprised I'm not more rigid than I am, because I was brought up by a colonel that was full bird colonel 25 years and survived 49 missions serving in World War II, flying over Germany. And that 8th Air Force lost the most. But what I'd like to say is that things are chaotic over at the Board of Supervisors. And I suggest, if you haven't seen it, when they do put it on YouTube, look at it, because the people I've lived in this valley for going on 4 decades, and I have never ever seen the public so roused, and the public is educated, and some of them have been over here, and a lot of the group today, not only I thought had their ducks in the row, they're unhappy about the way elections have gone. They don't trust the Board of Supervisors. They'd like to see all of them go. And the thing is, they don't identify with that group. The reason why they brought in, there must have been over a dozen deputies there. Things were calm, and they don't identify with that rowdy group. But what I'm saying, a lot of them, and I'm multimodal, and I've been using the bus. I didn't start out because I thought global warming. It was more of affordable. I didn't come from here after a divorce with a car. I believe in multimodal. It can work. So you need to educate the public why you believe that we have climate problems and that we need your policies and so forth. I believe in multimodal because it works. I made it work for me.
Thank you so much. MAG provides opportunity for members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website. Any comments received 2 hours prior to the meeting have been shared with committee members, and we did receive one comment for call to the audience. Item 4A is for information only. Does any member of the committee have any requests or request a presentation on this item? Red letter process. Hearing none, the next agenda item is number 5, approval of the consent agenda. Do we have, let's see, items 5A through 5E are on the consent agenda. Does any member of the committee have questions or request a presentation on any of these items? Hearing none, prior to the approval of consent agenda, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on any items on the consent agenda. I have not received any requests for this item.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
We did receive one comment submitted on the website, and that is regarding 2 of the consent agenda items that has been provided to the members in advance of the meeting.
Wonderful. Is there a motion to approve consent items 5A through 5E? I think we have a motion from, I think, Mayor Wires and second from Mayor Orsborn. We will have those participating in the meeting online take part in the voice vote by turning on their cameras and unmuting their audio. We need to see the faces of everyone to participate in the voice vote. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their camera, the staff will conduct a roll call vote. Staff will only call on those virtual participants who did not turn on their camera. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote so that staff can count people's names whose cameras are not on. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of members participating virtually who did not turn on the camera?
Thank you, Madam Chair. All members turn on their camera and the motion passes.
Nicely done, everyone. The next item on the agenda is for information and discussion and will be our regional heat efforts. MAG has been working on this for 19 years. Before we It will be presented by Amy St. Peter, our Deputy Executive Director. But before we move into the presentation, I'd like to ask Ed Zerker to make a special introduction.
Thank you, Chair Gallego. We're proud to host today Captain Kent Forty, who is the federal team lead for the Maricopa Association of Governments area for the White House All Inside Initiative. The All Inside program was created by the White House to reduce homelessness by 25% by 2025. Captain Forty is focused on reducing red tape. We can all appreciate that. Specifically, he's working on regulatory relief and waivers for homeless providers in our region, with a goal to have 5 waivers and 5 relief packages completed during his assignment. He's been working with MAG. He comes here regularly, and his trip to MAG coincided with this heat relief item. And so he's joining us today as a member of the interested member of the audience. So Captain Forty, if you just stand so we could recognize you, say thank you. Thank you for serving.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the MAG Regional Council. Even more importantly, I want to thank you for your continued support of these life-saving efforts. A number of you are doing just really fantastic work throughout the region, and we're hoping for your continued and increased participation. There are a number of efforts underway that are relatively new, and so we're excited to be able to bring that to you. One of those, first and foremost, on today's consent agenda, there's an item to partner, for MAG to partner with Arizona State University and their decision theaters, very specifically to address heat relief. So we're excited to be able to bring this work forward and to help shape that with your input in the months to come. Maricopa County, of course, has been extremely active in this space. They've always had a role, but they've expanded and Dr. Rebecca Sonnenschein joins me today from Public Health with Maricopa County to talk about their new efforts. And of course, want to recognize the city of Phoenix. They had one of the very first offices of heat response and mitigation in the entire country, and they've become a national model. And so many communities around this table are doing really great work in this space as well. So the purpose then of today's presentation is to be able to offer data and background on these regional heat relief efforts, to share with you these updates and these emerging roles, and then to ask for your increased participation of these very important efforts. Moving on then, MAG's Heat Relief Network began in 2005 when there were unprecedented numbers of people losing their lives to that summer heat. Then Continuum of Care Chair Greg Stanton very quickly rallied people together in order to strengthen the regional response to the deadly summer heat. So the network started then as an emergency response, a crisis response to what was happening at that time, and has evolved over the years. And Dr. Rebecca Sonnenschein will be sharing a bit about how the network is evolving now and where we're moving towards moving into the future. MAG's role in the beginning and continues to be in mapping out the heat relief sites. We're happy to be able to assist. We also issue a press release and try to raise general awareness around the community throughout the region around these heat relief efforts. Maricopa County's efforts started in 2006 with heat death surveillance. That's a monitoring of those heat deaths. They've quickly become a national model in this space, and even other countries are reaching out to them to ask them about their efforts. And Dr. Sonnenschein will be sharing a bit about that today. Just this year, in preparation for 2024 and the heat that we will be experiencing, fortunately, very soon, they've added one-time funding. That's an important point to note, that it's one-time funding that's available right now to help us prepare for this summer. And that's to provide support in areas such as transportation, a call center, and overnight cooling centers. And Dr. Sonnenschein has a great announcement about that call center as well. On the slide now, you'll see the sites from last year. We're hoping to expand the number of sites as well as to expand the hours of operation at these sites. For example, there are not many sites at all that are open overnight, and even fewer, I think, that are open on Sundays. So that's a critical need because, of course, it doesn't get any cooler on Sundays and doesn't, unfortunately, get much cooler at night anymore. We will open up the application process for sites to register for this next heat season beginning in April, so just in the coming weeks. And we'll have the map ready to go in May. We'll continue to update that map over the summer. This is very much a group effort at MAG through the Human Services team, the Communications team, and Regional Analytics. And I'd like to acknowledge and thank our MAG staff who are present here today as well for their efforts in this space. At this time,
would you just, Amy, go through what's the difference between a respite, cooling, hydration, and donation?
Absolutely. And I think Dr. Sonnenschein will be going through that a little bit as well. So if it's okay, we'll do that. But yes, there are a variety of different kinds of sites. And it's important to understand the capacities of each kind of site and to encourage volunteers and agencies to be able to staff those sites and to be open those sites over the summer. Thank you, Ed, for that. At this point now, I'd like to invite Dr. Sonnenschein to the podium to share with you about the differences between those sites and the other great work that's underway throughout the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, and thank you for having me, members of the board. My technical role is medical director for Maricopa County Public Health, but I'm really here to focus on what happened last year. I think everybody knows that it was the most number of heat-related deaths that we've ever seen and the hottest summer that we've ever seen. So in 2023, 645 Maricopa County residents died from heat-related causes. And tragically, that is a 52% increase from the year prior and 500% more than we saw 1 decade ago. So this problem is getting worse. We know that heat affects everyone, but some populations are disproportionately at risk. And about half of all heat-related deaths occur among people who are experiencing homelessness. And people who are experiencing homelessness are actually at 500 times the risk of experiencing heat-related death than somebody who has shelter. Really important for our efforts. Additionally, among people who die from heat-related causes, the majority, about 60%, are over 50 years old. And that includes people who are living homeless, as well as people who are housed, particularly those in mobile homes, RVs, or trailers. And those individuals represent 16% of our indoor-related deaths, another really important population to focus on. And this slide, I skipped that slide. This is the number of heat-related deaths by month. And I think anybody who spent a July here knows that July is definitely the hottest month. But you can see what proportion of heat-related deaths occur in July. And that is something that occurs every single year. And we expect it to occur again this year. And that's why it's so important to get our ducks in a row early. And I already covered this slide. And before I cover this slide, I do want to answer your question. So a cooling center is a space where somebody can, and now we've actually standardized the definitions. It's an air-conditioned space where somebody can sit down and recover from the heat. And it does require staff to be present and access to a public restroom. A respite center has all of those things, plus it allows people to have uninterrupted rest. So not necessarily sleeping on a cot, but they are allowed to get some rest, and particularly for people who are living outdoors and are unable to sleep in the heat at night. So this map, or this graph, represents the cooling centers in City of Phoenix. And I want to highlight that it shows the number of heat-related EMS calls in these bars by hour in the City of Phoenix. And the shaded proportion represents the hours that cooling centers are typically open. So if you just take a look at the shaded proportion compared to all the yellow bars when cooling centers are not open, you can see that the vast, not the majority, but almost about 40% of the calls occur at times when there's no cooling centers open. And that was really important for City of Phoenix's plan. And you can also see in the box there that while there's 17 cooling centers generally open Monday through Saturday during those daytime hours, there was only 1 cooling center that was open on Sundays. And as Amy mentioned, the heat does not go away on Sundays, nor does it go away at night. So this map, pretty complicated. I won't go into too much detail, but each of those sort of green blobs represents a 1-mile radius around a cooling center. And then the different colored dots represent heat deaths that occurred outdoors in 2022 and 2023.
And the other dots represent areas of homeless outreach where we know that people living homeless are encamped. And we use all of this information to optimize where cooling and respite centers are placed so we can make sure that we're meeting the needs of the people who are at highest risk. And as the number of people who are dying from heat continues to increase, we have an opportunity to shift from a volunteer decentralized emergency response that Amy described earlier to a coordinated strategic infrastructure that is driven by data. And that is exactly what we're doing. However, we need resources to build this infrastructure. We need better data to tell us what's working and what's not working. We did a cooling center evaluation and we're using every bit of that to improve this year. We need centralized and coordinated decision-making and ancillary services such as transportation and call center support, and formal agreements and funding to staff sites that are open evenings and weekends. So let me just tell you a little bit about what Maricopa County has in place so far. I can officially say today that we are about to sign a contract with AZ211, who will have 20 bilingual promotoras, which are community health workers staffing the lines to answer phone calls about heat, to connect people with the locations of heat relief centers, provide transportation to and from heat relief centers, and connect folks with other resources, like if their air conditioning breaks, needs repair, or if there's a wellness check that's needed on a senior. We are, as mentioned earlier, working very closely with the municipalities, many of you here today, who have experience in running cooling centers and funding them to make sure that they can stay open till at least 7 p.m. and at least 6 days a week, but when we're funding more than one, also have Sunday hours. And lastly, we're putting out a request for proposal to community-based organizations to help them expand their evening and weekend hours. So MAG, Maricopa County, the city of Phoenix, and Arizona are really seen as the national leaders in addressing the health effects of heat. And what we're doing here can be shared as a best practice and seen as a model for the entire nation. But we need all of our communities and organizations to assist in building the infrastructure we needed to save as many lives as possible. And so we have short-term and long-term needs. And what you can see on the slide is what we really need in the short term is funding and support to provide services such as case management, meals, and transportation for these cooling centers, opening a new cooling or respite center site, or extending the hours or days to nights and weekends, hosting a donation drive to collect water, socks, hats, cooling towels, sunscreen, and or funding. And really promoting this network with the public. In our cooling center evaluation, we learned that a lot of folks don't even know that these places exist. So anything you can do to let people know that we're out there, and coordinating well checks with homebound older adults. Now we can say, call 211. You can get any of these needs met. It's a simple number that people remember. And with that being said, in the long term, what we need most of all is sustainable funding for 211 so that we can predictably have this infrastructure in place every summer because we know it's going to be hot. And I'll bring it back over to Amy.
So again, we want to thank you for all of your support of these really critically important efforts. These efforts are really doing a lot to keep people safe and to even save lives. And you're hoping to make that happen. So we want to thank you for that. Now, it's my understanding that Supervisor Galvin would like to offer a few comments as well. Again, we're very thankful to be able to work with all of you and with Maricopa County on these important efforts. Supervisor Galvin?
Thank you, everyone. First of all, my apologies, an explanation on my tardiness today, but the county board meetings actually are Wednesday mornings. And then I left my prepared remarks. So I'm going to do the one thing I hate when people do is read off their phone. So if you can indulge me, but first of all, you saw just a phenomenal presentation. I'm very proud of our county staffers who are working diligently on this really important issue that literally is a matter of life and death. But I just want to let everyone here know that Maricopa County has been working closely with MAG and the Heat Relief Network since its origin in 2005 to provide both heat relief and surveillance data to understand the health effects of heat. In 2023, using public health infrastructure funded from the CDC, the Maricopa County Public Health Department created the first heat and public health program led by Dr. Jessica Bell. After the record-breaking hot summer in 2023 and based on the results of countywide cooling center survey, it became clear that heat relief in Maricopa County needed to be expanded, which led to hiring a heat relief coordinator serving under Dr. Bell. And finally, using a combination of ARPA and public health infrastructure funding, Maricopa County has implemented a plan to significantly expand heat relief efforts in 2024, which is being presented by Dr. Rebecca Sonnenschein, Medical Director of Maricopa County, and the Department of Public Health, and Dr. Jessica Bell in coordination with MAG. And I appreciate all of you for listening here today, and we look forward to your cooperation. Thank you.
Very much. That concludes our presentation. We're happy to receive any questions or comments that you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, Dr. Sonnenschein, and Supervisor Galvin. For us at the City of Phoenix, we just voted unanimously to add several overnight cooling facilities. We had only one, but we would ask everyone else as well. So could you raise your hand if your community has an overnight cooling facility? We really need other communities to do so. Even with our expansion, we don't have the capacity to take on folks from throughout the county. We have very reliable electricity, but there is a chance for outages. And you heard some of the data about people we've lost, including people in mobile home facilities and other indoor mortality. If people lose electricity, it can be deadly in our community. And I would just ask everyone that your residents need to know what's available to them and where they can go, particularly our most vulnerable. This is a huge challenge. We got international attention for how many people we lost, and it's not the reason to change, but it is heartbreaking. Each of those individuals leave behind families, and so many of these deaths would be preventable. So we are going to try more, but we cannot do it alone in the City of Phoenix. And so I would urge there to be additional overnight cooling facilities, and that every city should have a backup plan should there be a significant event in your community with a power outage or similar, because this really is, we've seen it's deadly. Hundreds and hundreds of people in the MAG region. Mayor Giles and then Mayor Peterson.
Thank you. I appreciate the great presentation, and I appreciate the county stepping up and providing leadership on this. But I think we just all have to look at this number of 645 and be horrified by that. That's not acceptable. And I think Dr. Sonnenschein, I'd like to invite you to come to my city council meeting and give a presentation on this, because I think we can't just say, oh, the county is going to take care of this for us, or Phoenix is going to take care of this for us. Because I guarantee you a lot of those 645 people are not dying on county islands, or not all of them are dying in downtown Phoenix. So, and it strikes me that we know the when, who, and where here. I mean, this is going to happen in June and July. It's going to happen to people who are 50 years old and with underlying health issues, and it's going to happen in mobile homes and homeless encampments. So given this is like a scheduled train wreck, you know, we know where to send the resources and who to talk to have impact on this. So again, I think we just all need to be shocked by this number, and we all need to respond emotionally to this and say, this isn't, we have to respond to this in our communities and not just let the county and City of Phoenix worry about it.
Powerful words. Thank you, Mayor Peterson.
Thank you for everything that's been presented, and thank you for your words, Mayor Gallego and Mayor Giles. I just wanted to add, we never know what people's situations are. We have locations in Gilbert that I want to thank the volunteers that have stepped up to provide those locations, because we even had a family that lost their air conditioning and had to wait to have it fixed. And we know how waiting for things nowadays goes. And they had a pet, and we have locations and their pet to go sit in, and it was an older couple. So everybody's reason is different, but there are situations out there that call for these needs. And so thank you for everybody that's doing everything that they are.
Absolutely. Oh, no.
Yeah, Mayor Ortega.
Thank you. We had 7 fatalities in Scottsdale. We had a very robust education and awareness campaign for hydration centers, and we used our libraries as well as pretty much triage and direct contact. It also allowed us to have our social work people make the rounds with them. So we also are looking, we reviewed the numbers in council 2 weeks ago, and we're looking for some some change in the trend. Yeah. So thank you very much for bringing that to this whole forum.
Madam Chair, may I? Also, Wildfire has a fundraising effort underway right now to be able to raise funds so that they can help people fix. So that might be another resource for people. And the ability to do donation drives can be very, very helpful. And just about really anybody can do that. So if we can assist you in any way, whether if it's technical assistance or helping to set up donation drives, anything like that, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're here to help you. And together we'll get through these next summer months. But thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. I hope soon we will have a overnight facility on the west side of Maricopa County and one on the east side as well. And hopefully more than one. We appreciate the important work and we're making progress, but we got a long way to go. Heartbreaking numbers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 7 is updates on trends in regional traffic. This item is on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Wang Zhang, Transportation Data Program Manager.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of Regional Council. All right, so while we're doing this, MAG has been monitoring and analyzing regional traffic. Based on different data we gather from different sources, and gradually putting this information into our transportation planning engineering needs. And especially in the last couple of years, as our region is settling into the new normal post-COVID, we have observed some interesting facts in terms of traffic and trends we'd like to share with you today. For example, we noticed a surge in the traffic volume or number of cars, as well as the heavy truck travel in our region and the change of the congestion patterns. Those things are effectively affecting our level of service in our roadways. So in this analysis, we take the traffic in the first week of March of 2020 as a baseline, which is 100%, as you can see. And we're looking at the number of cars or traffic volume on this graph. As you can see, in the year of 2019, our traffic volume level is very close to the first week of March 2020, or we call a pre-COVID condition. And in 2020, obviously, we have much less traffic volume to worry about throughout the last 3 quarters of the year. And this is the 2021. It took our region just 12 months for traffic volumes to be back to pre-pandemic or pre-COVID level. In March of 2021, we noticed there's a similar amount of cars traveling our regional networks as before. And they stayed gradually increasing in 22. This is 2023 and the beginning of 2024. So this shows our region currently is witnessing about 10% higher of the traffic volume in our region. Similar concept, let's look at the heavy truck travel. Instead of looking at by different time of the year, we look at the average annual average of the heavy truck travel. As you can see, even in the year of 2020, the heavy truck travel was increasing, and it just kept increasing till the 2022, which marks almost 37% higher of the heavy truck travel as compared to the pre-COVID. And then right now we're settling about 25 to 30% higher of the heavy truck travel as compared to the pre-COVID. So this graphic shows the congestion. As you can see, the blue line is how the congestion evolves in the year of 2020. After, I think, the third or second week of March, there's barely any congestion, particularly on our freeway system, because lots of people were staying at home. And it took our region 3 years until the March of 2023 that we started to notice there's a similar level of the congestion showing up on our regional network. And also it's showing up in 2 peaks, not only in the spring, but also in the fall. This is very similar to what we used to understand of our congestion patterns in the region. Another interesting is you look at the beginning of the 2024 in red as compared to the 2023 in the last couple months. You look at how close those trending lines are and how similar, how recurring those patterns are in the last 2 years. These are actually the signs we're looking for to affirm our regional traffic is settling into the new normal. So this graphic, let's try to understand a little bit how the traffic split or distributed among the different day of the week. So this is 7-8 years ago in 2017. As you may understand, our peak travel day among the whole week is Friday, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are very similar, with Monday's traffic slightly lower than the rest of the 4 weekdays. And the weekend travel in terms of Saturday and Sunday are much more less. The year of 2019, right before the COVID, very similar, right? And then this is what's shown in last year, 2023. As we can see, Mondays through Friday, the pattern stay, but we notice a surge in terms of travel in Saturday particularly. So in the next couple of the slides or animations, what we try to do here is to look at the average traffic congestion pattern on our freeway network. Again, for the first week of March of multiple years, and try to show you how the traffic congestion has changed for exactly the same time of the year. And in this graphic, we look at our regional perspective for the morning at 7:30. And there's not much difference if you compare 2023 or 2024's first week of March to the March of the 2020 before the COVID. So if we zoom in, there are two highlights we'd like to share with you. First of all, in the morning, we notice the I-10 eastbound going to Phoenix downtown has shown increased congestion now, but at the same time, the US 60 westbound coming from Mesa towards I-10 has shown less congestion nowadays. Another interesting finding is we see more people traveling during the noontime, which is defined as 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. throughout the weekdays. For example, in 2024, which is about to pop out, you will see there's more congestion around Phoenix downtown in different freeways, I-10, I-17, Loop 202, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So more congestion happening during the noontime these days. So this is a similar concept, but we're looking at 5 o'clock in the PM. There are actually some difference or changes if we compare 2023, 2024 to 2020. So let's look at more details. First of all, if I may have your attention to the West Valley, there are two increased congestion or two new bottlenecks. One is a South Mountain to I-10 transporting interchange. Another one is a Loop 101 Agua Fria to I-10 interchange. MAC has implemented a Prop 400 funded project next year, trying to do some improvement over there. If I may shift your attention to the east side of the map, it's showing the Loop 202 Red Mountain eastbound congestion has decreased these days. Another new bottleneck is on I-17 southbound in the afternoon. We all understand I-17 northbound is the peak direction in the afternoon, lots of congestion happening. But since the last year, 2023, and now, we also notice the southbound of I-17 in the afternoon has also shown some significant congestions. So essentially, both directions of I-17 in the afternoon, if you drive over there, you will experience some slowdowns. So moving to the south part of the region, I-10 between Loop 202 and Rex has shown more congestion on both directions. But again, we have about 400 funded projects, try to address that coming up. And the US 60 eastbound in the afternoon also showing less congestion these days. Just consistent to their westbound, less congestion in the morning. So after we visit so many numbers, statistic figures, you may wonder, how does congestion in our region compare to our peer region? Are we really doing that bad? So I hope these slides will ease your nerve a little bit. Actually, there are more than one independent studies done by National Renowned Research Institute or third-party companies. They both rank Phoenix as one of the top in terms of the least travel time and level of congestion, or the highest travel time reliabilities. For example, the table in the middle is done by Texas A&M Transport Institute. They ranks Phoenix much higher than our peer agencies in terms of travel time index. The lower the number, the less congestion it is. And the table on the right shows average cost per driver in our region comparing to other regions, and our cost is also landing on the lower side. So to conclude the presentation, we will continue to connect all the necessary data to monitor our traffic condition and the trends moving to future. And we will try to provide information to the decision makers to make sure you all are informed. And we'll also try to bring this as a necessary step in our transportation planning process. So once again, this presentation is for your information. Happy to take any questions and comments.
Thank you, Wong. Do any members have questions or comments?
Mayor, I would just say, I think it illustrates a couple of things. One, with data, it shows what you all probably experience yourselves personally, or your constituents reflect to you about traffic, that there seems to be more on Saturday and it seems to be more throughout the day. Wong's data shows that. But I think the bigger picture is it shows the wisdom of the regional council's focus on a regional funding source for transportation, because without a regional funding source, we can't address these issues. We could not rely only on the gas tax to be able to deal with the congestion problems you see here. The resources provided by currently Prop 400 are what gives you as a regional council tools and mechanisms to work on this. So for example, the I-10 tunnel to the loop, which we presented a couple months ago, there's funding for that because of the Prop 400. So I think it supports many things that the regional council has done and is going to continue to do.
Mayor Harkey.
So are we able to break out of that? Number one, it was very fascinating, and thank you for all the work and MAG sponsoring. But I do know that particularly along I-10, the Broadway curve and that whole section, there's a lot of traffic that would certainly, or a lot of construction that would add to congestion, perhaps even this year more than others. Is there any way to break out the solution to the problem is also being part of the short-term problem?
Thank you, Mayor Hart, for your good questions. It's really good and complex questions. As we understand, the I-10 Broadway affect the travel not only on I-10 but also surrounding freeways. There are travelers potentially they change their path choice during the commute. They may try to avoid or maybe try to take the I-10 during the construction. So we will need to gather more information and data to fully understand that. There are a few studies undertaken. We're collecting more data, traffic volumes along the corridor. We're conducting a household travel survey to understand how people are traveling, what are the trips they're making, especially in the last few years, to fully understand that problems.
Was exciting to see some areas, particularly in the East Valley, with less congestion. To how much do we attribute 400 projects or just general upgrades to the reduction in congestion, or what do we think the source of the reduction in congestion would be?
Thank you, Mayor Gallego, for your questions. I think there are multiple factors into that. The projects will help, and also the change of the people's travel also helps. Again, that goes to the study we're doing right now, household travel study. We ask specific questions to the people living at a different area of the valley in terms of how many trips they make and where do they go and what time they leave home, what time they get home. It will be really interesting to compare this version of the result to the version we did before the COVID to fully tackle the problems. And so in my personal opinion, I think the new transportation projects and the change of the patterns are the two main factors contributing to the change of the congestion.
Makes sense.
I do think we could attribute, though, the significant investments in the US 60 to what you're seeing, in addition to the travel pattern changes that Wong described. There has been significant regional investment in the US 60, and I think that shows the wisdom of regional investment. So
I think it's important for us to understand that so we can talk to our constituents that we really can make a difference in people's commutes. And as we talk to our constituents about the greatest congestion in the region, it seemed like I-10 and I-17 were the areas of greatest congestion, both of which we have addressed in the upcoming regional transportation plan?
Yes.
Yeah, based on the data, yeah, I-10 I-17 seems like most congested, and the Loop 101 as well.
Great. That's very helpful, I think, as we just talk with folks about this. Wonderful. Well, very important data and very timely. Thank you for the presentation. Item 8 is the air quality update. There has been a lot of activity in this area. Maybe we'll start with the good news. Matt Poppin, our acting environmental director, did a great job in meeting with the EPA Assistant Administrator Goffman, who's the head for Clean Air Act. And that and many other reasons, he is now the permanent environmental director. So congratulations on that much deserved promotion. Ed Zerker, Matt, and I joined Chairman Sellers and several other leaders to convene with the EPA. They came here at the request of MAG, which was really amplified by our 2 U.S. senators to try to find solutions for the big challenges we are raising. And I think they really appreciated the great data that MAG put forward and our willingness to look to solutions and some of the policies we have already implemented. They did say we might be the most complicated region in the country. So congratulations to everyone. But we got a lot happening in that area, and I will turn it over to Matt for information and discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the Regional Council. I just really want to echo what Madam Chair stated, that it really was a good meeting, and we're very hopeful that we can make some progress on ozone, which still remains a very challenging issue for our region. And for today's update, I just want to give you a brief update on the 4 requests that we made during that meeting to EPA on how they can help us move forward with our ozone planning efforts, and then open it up to any questions you might have. So the first request that we really asked EPA is if they could do a better job of explaining what is going on with ozone in our region. As we have presented in the past, we know that since 2017, emissions of the chemicals that cause ozone to occur have decreased over time. So the man-made emissions within our region, within Maricopa County, have decreased. But conversely, we are seeing an increase in ozone during that time. And there's not a very good explanation for why this is occurring. There's theories out there. It could be the higher impact of wildfires. Meteorology could be involved in that. Changes to the way ozone chemistry occurs. All of those things. But we really need EPA's additional input into this, so that when policymakers make decisions about how to reduce ozone, they know that it will make an impact on our area, that attainment is possible. The second point we really focused on was we really need a paradigm shift on how EPA Region 9 currently is reviewing ozone impacts from wildfires. It's still taking a lot of time and a lot of effort to convince Region 9 that these wildfire events are causing ozone exceedances in our region. Together, Maricopa County, Pinal County Air Quality District, ADEQ, we've submitted 33 events to EPA for their evaluation, and they've only come back with 3 that they think have a high level of evidence. So there's still a lot of work to do there and a lot of convincing to be done, and we think Assistant Administrator Goffman can provide some direction to EPA Region 9 staff on that as well. The third item we've requested is for them to revise their policy and guidance on international emissions. Our main request here is that their policy and guidance would reflect the Clean Air Act statutes. Right now, we feel like there's some additional tests, some additional bars, some hurdles that we have to cross in their guidance in order to exclude emissions from international sources that may keep us from being bumped up to a higher classification in the ozone scheme. And so we're really asking for Administrator Goffman to provide new guidance on how EPA Region 9 reviews international emissions. And then lastly, Maricopa County did a fabulous job of presenting the importance of EPA approval of Rules 204 and 205, which allows currently existing industries and industries that want to expand to get the emission offsets they need for that to happen. And we're hopeful on this item that EPA is going to approve those rules. And so We're looking forward to that as well, and that will really help our economic conditions to continue to thrive here. So that's the summary of what we asked. If there's any questions, we're available for that at this time.
Comments or questions? Wonderful. Thank you.
I would just add on this, not to be a broken record from the last one, but again, I think this is also illustrates the wisdom of investment over the years by the regional council in air quality staffing and modeling. It was very clear from our conversations with the EPA, as Mayor Gallego mentioned, that the data that Matt was able to present made an impact on the EPA folks, that it was very clear and thorough and came with a lot of credibility. I'd also say we are not alone in this effort. We're in a similar situation as cities like Chicago, Philadelphia, Houston, Dallas, the entire state of Connecticut. But particularly, we are at the forefront in the Western United States. Our sister agencies in Salt Lake City, Denver, Colorado Springs, and Fort Collins are really in the same boat as we are with something is wrong with decreasing emissions through rulemaking and efforts, and ozone has stopped decreasing. And so we really want to thank Senator Cinnamon Kelly for gently persuading the national people to come from Washington, D.C. and come here and see and hear and listen to business and government talk about what we're trying to do and what our frustrations are. So I thought it was really helpful, but it brought all the resources that the regional council has put into air quality really shone through in the presentation.
Thank you. And not necessarily MAG, but there's been significant news related to litigation in the last couple days in this area. So important for members of the regional council to be aware of that as well.
And that is related to PM 2.5. I think we're going to talk about that just a bit, or no?
Yeah,
we can, but
If
if Mayor Harkey had something.
Mayor Harkey.
So I also understand that just the ability to offset some of these reduction credits we're at a bit of a disadvantage compared to some other states around us. Is there any work on identifying further possibilities of that? So regardless that our companies are able to find some solutions by additional credits and offsets?
Yeah, I think we're very hopeful that EPA will approve rules 204 and 205. So rule 205 in particular, I believe EPA is going to grant a conditional approval on that, which will allow that to move forward. That will allow a facility to get credits from what we call non-traditional sources. So whether they choose to electrify a fleet of vehicles that operates within Maricopa County, basically allows them to get emission reduction credits from mobile sources, which currently is not allowed. So that will open up a lot more opportunities for emission reduction credits to occur. Rule 204 has some additional categories that they're looking for, which is a little further along or a little further behind in the process, but we're hopeful that will get EPA approval as well too, moving forward.
So EPA's mindset, to your point, Mayor Harkey, EPA's mindset is really based on heavily industrialized areas, Chicago, Philadelphia, Houston, where big smokestacks, industry gets cleaner, smokestacks go away, there's credits. You come to a place like Phoenix, Salt Lake City, or Denver, we don't have big smokestack industries here. We have cleaner, we're newer, we have cleaner industry. So those offsets don't exist. So what Maricopa County was working on was a rule to allow a company to take a fleet of diesel trucks, pay for them to be converted into electric or hydrogen, and then get credit because the diesel trucks create the stuff that creates ozone. They take them out and replace them with electric. That should be a credit. Intel was a forerunner in Chandler in doing that. Maricopa County's been struggling to get EPA to approve a rule to let that be the norm. And that's really what this back and forth. And we think, I think Supervisor Galvin knows, we think we finally have gotten EPA to agree to the rulemaking that the county's been trying to do to make that possible, replacing bus fleets in school districts and those sorts of things that will generate the credits that we just don't have because we don't have big smokestack industries here. So, exactly.
Thank you. And Somewhat related, this Friday, we will submit our CPRG application, and a huge thank you to Audra and her team for all the work that you have been doing in that area.
Mayor, if you wanted us, we could just touch briefly on the PM 2.5, which is the lawsuit that you mentioned that had just happened last week. So Matt, maybe just a brief update on that. That's a little bit longer runway of an issue, irrespective of the lawsuit than ozone is, but it's good to update on that.
Sure. Yeah, I would just say that we don't have a lot of information on the lawsuit. We know it's just been filed. I think historically what we have seen with lawsuits that challenge an existing standard is that the courts have upheld those standards, and they haven't historically overturned an existing standard due to costs or other burdens that might occur. So I think in general, these lawsuits generally don't result in a change in the standard, but we'll keep monitoring it and see what happens. And there is a long runway until this PM 2.5 standard would really start to be implemented, more like 2 years from now. So that it might be, another year or so before that lawsuit is even heard at the court level as well, too.
And just to refresh, so the PM 2.5, that's the little tiny things, little tiny pieces of not even dust. It's even smaller than that. We were in compliance with that previous standard. The EPA just lowered the standard. And with that lowered standard, we have at least 2 of our monitors that now we don't think will be in compliance with that. So we potentially, as a region, will become a non-attainment area for PM 2.5 standards based on the new standard. That's what is being litigated now by a consortium, is that the new standard is unreasonable. And as Matt said, those are very, very hard lawsuits to win. But a group, I think, led by the National Association of Manufacturers and some other states are joining to try and litigate that. But we have a couple of years before this kicks in for us, Matt, is that right? Is it 2027?
Right. Well, it would be 2026. So currently, what's important too is Arizona Department of Environmental Quality has started the process of looking at the designation of areas. They have to make a recommendation to the governor, and they've started the public process of that. So you'll be hearing more about that in terms of trying to define how big or how small a non-attainment area should be based on the monitoring data and the emission sources. So we'll be involved in that process and tracking that and providing input into that as well as it moves forward.
And some of the things that contribute most to PM 2.5 are what?
Right. So as we discussed before, in the winter, it's a lot of the residential wood burning, especially on the holidays. It can be the commercial or the consumer fireworks can cause very, very high PM 2.5 spikes. And then throughout the year, it's any combustion activity, tailpipe emissions, industrial facility emissions, and then fires as well also contribute to PM 2.5, and any process that disturbs the soil. So construction activities, agricultural activities, those can contribute to PM 2.5 as well. But there's a real seasonality to it. Our fall and winters have much higher PM 2.5 levels than do our spring and summer. And that's partly due to meteorology, which kind of traps the pollution during those months, and also the increases from wildfires or from residential wood burning and consumer fireworks in those months.
Great. Thank you so much for the multiple important updates, and congratulations again. Item 9 is the Executive Director's Report. We will turn back to Ed.
Thank you, Mayor, Chair Gallego, and members of the committee. We just want to cover a few things of note. Some of you may have noted, but we wanted to recognize Governor Lewis of the Gila River Indian Community, who was an invited guest of First Lady Jill Biden for the March 7th State of the Union address, and was recognized for his leadership with the community on infrastructure, including construction of new schools and innovative solar over canal project on the Gila River Indian Community. We're also excited for a member agency. The Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community was awarded almost $50 million for the Pima Road Widening Project, which is a joint effort with the city of Scottsdale, Mayor Ortega. Thank you. Federal match for the project is funded through the Prop 400 program. So again, a benefit of membership in MAG that we were able to help secure a $50 million. I think we got to advance our slide one more. There we go. Thank you, Audra. So that's the Pima Road project, 90th Street to the Salt River, a joint project of Scottsdale and Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community. Next, our partners in Maricopa County, the MacDOT Department of Transportation, turned 150. Who knew? It was pretty amazing. I think we learned that one of the first projects done was about a $14,000 bond issued to build a road from Phoenix to Prescott. And we were convinced that there were probably people at that time saying, 14,000, how much can it cost to build a road, right? So that was way back in the 1870s or 1880s. But here were a bunch of the partners, including Federal Highways and the Arizona Department of Transportation. So congratulations, Supervisor Galvin and MacDOT. April is, there we go. April's Distracted Driver Awareness Month. We'll be putting out a bunch of information on that from MAG. It's part of the safety efforts here. We'll have collateral material. If you or your agencies are interested, just contact us and we'll get you some collateral on Distracted Driving Awareness Month as we continue to focus on safety. It is the CME AZ educational effort, which is on our website. Another issue coming up, you're going to see if you watch Cox Cable or other outlets, you'll start seeing some public service ads that may look familiar, which is the Home is Where It All Starts campaign that Amy St. Peter and the team have been working on. This launches April 2nd, Amy. It's focused on changing how people talk about housing. And we want to thank the program sponsors, which include 3 of our members, Avondale, Fountain Hills, and Paradise Valley, for helping fund this effort. And if you have any questions, Amy St. Peter can help you with that. The numbers are in. This is not a great one, but again, kind of on the theme of what we get for our regional investment. Almost 1.3 million pounds of trash were picked up off of Maricopa County freeways in 2023. And probably not much of that would have happened without Prop 400 because MAG specifically funds freeway trash pickup efforts. As you can see how that is. Now, what was picked up was less in 2023 just by observational driving. I'm not sure that means there was that much less trash on the freeways. It's just hard to keep up with it. And that is almost 94,000 bags below. And that is one day's pickup there shown below. But again, it's an important reminder of all the many things that are done through the regional funding program that make a difference in people's quality of life. And one is what's on the freeway. Finally, just celebrate some milestones. The picture on the left was the first section of the outer loop, northern to Peoria, in 1988. Hard to believe. I'm not sure if that's some sort of like futuristic car that's supposed to be sitting there under the sign or what it was, but maybe they thought that's what we'd be driving in 2024. Not sure. And then on the right, April is 2 years since the interim opening of State Route 24 from Ellsworth to Ironwood. So as we know, the folks out there wish that it weren't interim, that it were fully built, but it's already been 2 years for this, and we're seeing the demand there as well. So again, just a good broad range of things going on at MAG, from transportation safety, housing and homelessness, air quality, and of course, major construction of projects. With that, Mayor, Chair, members of the committee, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Ed, and congratulations on all the folks involved with those great milestones. Item 10 is the legislative update. We will turn to Audra for.
Thank you, Chairwoman Gallego, members of Regional Council. Last week was the final week of regular committee hearings, with Appropriations Committees meeting this week. It appears budget conversations have not necessarily advanced, and there are some rumors of an extended break, maybe a week more on our horizon. So we'll follow that as we continue to see those discussions emerge. With that, I have a few updates on bills that we have been following. House Bill 2279, a strike everything bill regarding homeless service and drug-free zones, was passed out of the Senate Appropriations Committee yesterday on party lines. Senate Bill 1238 is also still alive. There's been lots of conversations around these bills with many of your agencies already having weighed in. We'll continue to track. Continuing resolutions are a notable feature of our legislature this year. While passed out of the House, no action has yet been taken on in the Senate on House Continuing Resolution 2050, a proposed constitutional amendment that would prohibit any government entity from restricting the manufacturing or sale of any device based on fuel source. This is similar to a provision that was included in statute as part of Senate Bill 1102, also known as enabling legislation last year. A pair of bills, Senate Bill 2545 and 2546, are scheduled for third reading today in the Senate. These bills would exempt any model year 2018 vehicle or newer from emission inspections. This has implications for our air quality planning and attainment work, including in the state implementation plan.
So Audra, we don't think that's a good thing, right?
Correct.
Okay, just making sure.
Chairwoman Gallego, members of the committee, we have concerns because that has an implication on the state improvement plan where vehicle emission is required for checks in Maricopa County. EPA would not approve. We don't believe EPA would approve that provision. Finally, moving on to ADOT's continuation, last Friday, Senate Bill 1184 failed to pass out of the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee. This bill was a 2-year continuation of ADOT that included several additional policy provisions. House has passed House Bill 2037, a clean 8-year continuation, but this bill was not heard by the Senate's Transportation, Technology, and Missing Children's Committee. We await future conversation about this as well as several other agency continuations without action. ADOT and other agencies waiting for reauthorization would terminate July 1st. As you all know, ADOT is a critical implementing partner of MAG's investment plan, and we support a clean continuation of the agency. Madam Chairwoman and members of Regional Council, that completes my presentation for today.
Any questions? All right, thank you so much for the important update. Item 11 is requests for future agenda items. Are there any requests for future agenda items? All right, hearing none, the next agenda item is comments from the committee. Any comments from the membership? The next meeting of the Regional Council will be on Wednesday, April 24th, 2024 at 11:30